Hey everyone, this is Bowie with Headphone Guru. We'll be starting a new video series where we'll be covering both long and short audio reviews of certain products that we want to feature and show to you, our fans. Starting off with one of the first videos that we'll be producing, it's going to be with Beyerdynamics on their Blue BYRD headset. You can see them right here. I've been demoing them for a couple months now. These are the second generation of their popular variant, and they're effectively now back and sounding better. So what are the Blue BYRDs? They're effectively an aptX compatible Bluetooth headset that features effectively what you can see on the website, 5. Supporting up to Bluetooth 5.2, aptX as well as AAC. Currently, I'm using the Blue BYRD with the OnePlus 8 in aptX mode, but I've also used it in AAC mode. Both have pretty much worked fine for me, but I've noticed that in environments where there's a lot of other Bluetooth devices, AAC is just going to be a little more reliable for the end user. They're advertising approximately 14 hours of battery life. Personally, I'm seeing about 8 to 10, but that's because I'm pretty much using it throughout the entire day for teleconferencing, calling, as well as audio. And that kind of brings me to one of the first and biggest strengths of the Blue BYRDs. A lot of people these days have been moving away towards the TWS, True Wireless series, such as the Apple's popular AirPods and AirPods Pros. But there's one thing that you really can't beat with neckband-based headsets right here. The first one's going to be battery life. The second one's going to be mic call quality. The TWSs, they don't typically last more than 4 hours, at which point they're pretty much dead in the water. They have to go back in the case. Whereas the Blue BYRD itself, I've noticed that I can get approximately 8 hours or so of enjoyment out of it before I have to go back and charge them. So they actually last quite a long time. I know Bayer advertises up to 14, but in my use case, approximately a full workday, 8 hours is much more common that you'll get out of these. So as you see on the website, one of the prime selling points of the Blue BYRD is that it's a multi-use communication device. I would have a better description for it. You can pretty much use it throughout the day as for telecoms, for watching podcasts, going back to your videos, calling your parents, etc. And it pretty much switches between each and every single one of those fairly flawlessly. You just leave them in your ears and you go about your day. And that brings me to my next point. So one of the biggest issues that me and most people have with true wirelesses is that they actually rely on the fact that they have to use a little bit of pressure to keep themselves inside of your ears. That makes sense. There's no other way to hold them in place. The Blue BYRDs is almost a way of calling it effortlessly. They kind of just slot in there, but they're not actually applying much positive pressure. Of course, your mileage may vary depending on the size of the tips that you use from the box, but I've effectively found them much more comfortable to use for hours on end without even noticing that they're in there. The mic quality is also extremely excellent. Even with a lawnmower going off in the background, people have not actually been able to realize that there was any background noise at all. Call quality is also excellent as well. I've been able to get people to hear me without much issue, either here or at the gym. However, the fact that it is a neckband does have definite cons. When you're at the gym, you'll notice that most people these days are using true wireless headsets, and it makes sense because, as you're running, you don't want to cause much microphonics, the noise of the cable bouncing around. And above all, you actually, when you're laying down for a bench press, the neck bands will typically just fall straight on down. Whereas with a true wireless, they'll stay with you. So in a sense, if you're just walking around the city, going for a semi-quick walk, maybe a little bit of jogging, or just going about your day, the Blue BYRDs will probably fit that sort of multifaceted lifestyle. But the moment you start getting much more active, true wirelesses do make a comeback for their use case and why a lot of people choose them these days at the gym versus the neckband headphones. The 8 to 14 hour battery life is definitely a massive plus on the Blue BYRD side of things, however. The Blue BYRD actually comes with some nice accessories, nothing over the top, but you'll be getting quite a couple different sets of ear tips, all the way from extra small all the way to extra large, as well as this pretty nice carrying case. You can see that they even have their logo embossed on the side of it. I thought it was pretty neat for them to include this pretty sturdy carrying case. I've had no problems using it, but I can't say I've thrown it through the ringer. Past that, you'll have some basic accessories, a USB-C charging cable for the headphone. You can see the port right there. It's a USB-C, including supporting fast charging, and the headset itself. Nothing too fancy on it. You will find that the headset does come with 3 button controls with a plus minus for the volume, as well as a stop, play, as well as a assistant button. So pretty useful. I haven't used the assistant functionality with the Bluebirds too much, but when it does come up, it's there and working. The Beyerdynamic does come with a My app. You can see it on the back here. I've used it in the past with their Lagoon ANC headphones, and now with the Beyerdynamic Bluebirds. But in my opinion, it's just not worth installing or using. It takes in input parameters and does some tests, but overall, I didn't find that the sound changed all that much, partially due to my age. So for the most part, if you're looking to just plug this in and use it, you can straight up skip the MyV app and go straight towards listening to the headsets. And then, of course, we get to one of the final portions of the review, and that is going to be the sound of the Beyerdynamic Bluebirds, which I have right here. Over the last couple of months of listening to them, I've brought them through pretty much almost every genre you can think of: pop, rock, opera, plays, soundtracks, etc. And I found the Bluebirds to be a very adaptable as well as a fun sound. It's a little dark, the vocals are a bit pulled back, but I was actually surprised at the level of soundstage it did bring to the competition. I've noticed that comparing the Bluebirds to the AirPod True Wirelesses, that while the AirPod Pros are a little more balanced with its sound signature, it actually loses out in soundstage, how wide the sound feels versus the Bluebirds. And another leg up that the Bluebirds have on the Apple products are going to be how well it works with live sound. Whereas the AirPods are good pop true wireless headsets. The moment I put on Hamilton the musical, or even the some French OSTs, I've just noticed that the Bluebirds are just a little step above, thanks to that slight pullback in the mid-range sector. Both are fairly bassy. However, the AirPod Pros are going to be a little more punchy and impactful than the Bluebirds. I've noticed earlier in my review that I said these kind of sit in your ears, whereas the AirPods have to have that full seal. That is likely to be one of the primary culprits for why the AirPods have a little more impact. So depending on the tips you use, you can probably swap these out with your favorite spin fits, complies, etc. Your mileage is going to vary on how much of a bass impact it has. Overall, though, I'd say that I'm very happy with the sound quality of the Beyerdynamics, especially at the price range of, sub $150, which definitely beats out the Apple product. It's not, super high-end audiophile, but given the range that it's in, I've been very happy listening to musicals, soundtracks from, Hiroyuki Sawano, from Hamilton, etc. It pretty much works for all of it. Where it does fall a little bit short is when you start getting into the metal as well as very hard rock genres. Because of the slight pulling back of the vocals around the mid-range, it just doesn't sound as sharp. It lacks a little bit of that upper mid snap crack that you'll hear in heavy metal bands. I've noticed that with Rammstein, for example, it's just not as bright as I would like it to be. But then again, at the price range we're looking at right now, you really can't expect everything. So overall, what did I think of the Beyerdynamic Bluebirds? I actually like them quite a lot. Not really for an audiophile use case, I'm going to be honest. But in terms of a general workday use case, I really liked it. On my screen for a while now, you'll see that Beyerdynamic has been calling it a multi-use communication device. That is honestly one of the better ways of describing it, as noted earlier. It just fits the day-to-day activities that you might run through while you're at work, while you're at school, going around your day, needing to go outside. Maybe you live around the streets of New York. Stuff like that would effectively make the Bluebird a massive contender versus a true wireless headset. One of them being that you won't lose, a second of your earpods. Losing a TWS has been quite common. Losing a set of AirPods is also a pretty common issue. With a neckband earphone, you pretty much get over 3 times the battery life without needing to go back in the case. It might even store a little nicer, as it doesn't have to be in a solid round shape like with an AirPod or with a Samsung Bud. So in terms of just a multifaceted device you can use through your day-to-day, the Bluebirds have been phenomenal in that sense. It pretty much just can be used wherever you want to go. Overall, it is not a audiophile device. It does have portions where it shines when you're listening to live musicals and pop, but when it comes down to it, I wouldn't buy it purely for the sound. It's really meant to be used for day-to-day for a day-to-day use case where you want to have it in your ears for hours on end to talk to your loved ones, listen to the music while having crystal clear mic audio and having good enough sound to be enjoyed on your go. In that sense, under the $150 price range, I'm a pretty big fan of the Beyerdynamic Blue BYRDs, and I'm very interested in seeing what they come out with in the future. So thank you guys very much for joining me on Headphone Guru's first video review. Hopefully we'll be able to see you next time on one of many in the future.